Welcome back to realestateexperts.com real estate show. Plus, you can use our home valuation page. I forgot to bring that up the first half of the show. Househuntingonline.com. That's not our business. That's just a special website. So you can go straight to a window in a little box that says home address. You can type in your home address there. You plug that in and it takes you through a couple more screens, about 30 seconds of your time, and it will produce an automated value. And there's two ways to use that. Either it's kind of an entry point to maybe you're going to sell your house in the next 12 months, and we can start to have a conversation about how to get the most money, because there is a difference between just putting it on the market and selling it for the most money. I just started sharing a story as a general representation of the difference between a plan and no plan. For sale by owner, has his house, $251,000 is the net or the sales price that he's going to get. Going to save 6% commission, right? Well, we happened to interact with him before he made that final decision and signed that contract. I said, don't do that. Let's put it on the market for $285,000. We'll sell it, I think, pretty quickly. We got $285,000 for the house, full price, closed, sold it in a week, closed in a month. And he made 12% more. Now, I know. He saved 6%. So he would have saved 6% if he had just sold it to those other people as a for sale by owner. And he felt so much better about himself because he was able to cut out the evil real estate agent. You know, because that's it. We always want to worry about everybody else's money in America now. So in the process of having had a bad experience or a bad feeling about our crappy industry called housing, I agree with you, it's crappy. You're going to cost yourself 12%, which is how much more he got for the house, in order to save 6%. So he paid me 6%, I produced 12%. That's not worth it, is it? I mean, being facetious. I mean, quite a bit more net money in terms of the, what is that? It's about $17,000, $16,000 extra money over and above the commission. So when you know what you're doing and you have the network of marketing, you have all the tools and technology, you're able to do things other people can't do. Remember last segment, what I said about one of my concerns about capitalism in America today. And this is not anti-capitalist statement. This is anti-criminal statement, anti-greed statement. This is a moral statement. Capitalism works great in almost every scenario where the people engaged at the highest levels are moral. We have gotten to a point of a moral bankruptcy at behemoth big companies in America. And one of the reasons for that is if you don't know how to play the game, you're screwed. And that's one of the things I'm describing. And I'm sort of in my own right saying the same thing about our company that I say about these big businesses. If you don't use someone like us, I'm not the only company. There's probably another couple, 300 out there that have a team just like we do that know how to do things and know how to play and manipulate the internet and all these behemoths. Zillow is a Facebook or an AT&T or a Comcast, if you will. Because what Zillow does is monopolize the home search. And a for sale by owner thinks they're just going to go put something on Zillow and all of a sudden they're going to get, their home sold. It doesn't work that way. Zillow is an evil company. But I don't like Zillow. I can't stand them. I think corporately they are the lint on a pile of manure. They're so scummy. Okay. Do you know how I feel? Am I holding back here? Okay. So I want to say that to say, however, if you want to succeed in the sale of a home, you've got to know how to use Zillow correctly. And so you probably aren't going to figure that out yourself unless you've dealt with Zillow a few hundred times, because every listing that's put in Zillow has a slew of problems, of which the 45,000 people I talked about earlier in the show in this marketplace that have a real estate license, there's 50,000 total. 45,000 of them don't know any more than you do. So don't just go and choose to go for sale by owner because the likelihood of you getting a bad agent is 4.5 out of 5. Go find someone good. And then when you do, you will double or triple, literally, what you pay them in commission. Choose the wrong person, which is, if you don't go about it methodically, you will end up choosing someone who will just simply cost you 6% or more and will give you no value than what you could get as a for sale by owner. I think that's the thought process of for sale by owner is that that's what happens. So let me get on to the Atlanta real estate market. Let's spend some time on this. Let's ask the question, is the Atlanta housing market at a turning point? The answer is yes. From October of 2017, if you can follow me here, we hit a really critical low in inventory. This was a bit artificial. So the housing recovery was real, but the housing advancement that we've seen was a bit artificial because behavior has been so altered over the last decade and a half. We started out with this massive boom. We had a big crash, as we all experienced. The crash bottomed out around 2013. We bobbed up and down a little bit for a year or two. Then we started a pretty noticeable climb in values. What happened was, however, is that so much money was lost. This is like the tax scenario. We've artificially altered human behavior because so much money was lost from the peak to the bottom that people that normally would have sold to supply housing to the market stayed out of the market waiting for their housing values to recover. So what then happened is people who should have empty nested and sold 5-6 years ago waited. Wasn't necessarily a bad idea. They entered the market too late. You sell when the market needs sellers. You buy when the market needs buyers. We needed sellers in 2016 and 17. By 2018, people were flooding into the market selling homes, and what that did is doused out with water the fire of the housing advancement in values, which means we really were not at a point where we should have seen prices go much beyond where they were early last year. But they did. They overshot, as they always do in these economic situations. So what ended up happening is people saw this going on and they rushed in to put homes on the market. And then all of a sudden you had greedy people populating, wanting too much, appraisals not coming in, frustration entering the market, multiple offers. And those that you start to lose a certain percentage of buyers when the market gets crazy. People like me go, the heck with that. I'll just sit over here and sit on the cash or whatever and wait till it crashes again because this is not a good environment to be in. When you've got people down at the courthouse who've never bought investment property, some of which don't even own their own home that they live in, and they're outbidding the institutional investors who've been buying at the courthouse for 30 years, that tells you now that you got hairdressers who think they've become real estate experts again. That's a bit of the cycle peak that we're in. But in 2017, we hadn't seen this influx of people. The market had gradually and naturally risen, but we had an artificially low amount of inventory because people were waiting for the market. They were trying to time the market to get the most money. I want to be the ones to sell just before the next one sells lower, right? And that's what they weren't thinking that cognitively, but that's what they were doing. So what ends up happening is you get to October 2017, we've got a critical low number of inventory in pretty much anything under $1 million in Metro Atlanta, with a very few exceptions. And then people are multiple offers, there's bidding, there's influx, there's an economic advancement going on that's real in the overall national economy that's even bigger here in Atlanta. And we get to last March, April, May, and it's just nuts. It's just great. It's easy to walk into a home and say, no. That home you think is worth $400 is worth $439. And I'll get it done and then sell it in a week with 3 offers. Well, that went away about July 1st because you end up with the cyclical part of the season anyway. Rates started rising, affordability collapsed, and all of a sudden you had a median income drop from $262,000 down into the high 220s. That's not true depreciation. That just shows that half the homes were selling above 262, half below. Now with the interest rate rise and the rise in prices, we had to adjust that down for pure affordability. That told you that the market peaked last June. Now we saw it peak on paper in July, August, September, October because a real estate cycle or trend takes 3 months to even begin to develop and really 6 months to vet out, because whatever I'm buying today, I'm basing my decision upon my standards in today's market, and I look back at the last 3 to 6 months in sales. So for this day to produce a result, I've got to look forward at a closing 60 days from now, which is still a bit of a product of last month or two. So you have to really let that develop over 6 months. What we saw from July to January, with the exception of a bump down in interest rates due to some economic concerns, not related to the economy, but overall in finance and security, we saw a market that was really struggling. And we see really now a really great market under 300,000, pretty good up to 400. And it really starts to become a desert over 500,000. Not to say things aren't selling, not to say that things don't move, not to say it's bad, but we see a lot of people, the further outside the perimeter you go, under 1 million, but over 500,000, scratching their head, their agents doing the same, maybe even worse, going, what's up? Not getting a lot of showings, et cetera, et cetera. There's two reasons for that. Number one, a lot of them have terrible marketing. And I've always said it, a monkey could sell real estate when it's really hot like it was early last year. You take the listing, take your old smartphone camera, take a few crappy photos, throw it online, and here's the real secret to real estate marketing for most real estate agents, the 45,000 of them out there that suck. Here's their marketing secret. No matter what presentation, this is their marketing plan. Here's step 1, press enter. Step 2, press enter again just to make sure it's active. Step 3, wait for phone to ring. Step 4, wait for showings to naturally occur. If that's your marketing plan, and that's 45,000 of the 50,000 agents in Metro Atlanta, then what you can expect as a home seller when the market's hot is the same result that I could produce in the worst market in history. I was the number 1 agent in South Carolina in 2010, 11, and 12. And the reason for that is when nobody could sell anything, they were coming to me and I could sell it because I knew what to do. All right, so the contrast there is that agent stands out. Me and others stand out when it's really difficult. And it's easy to see the difference for most sellers. But when the market's super hot, you just press enter on a keyboard. Well, now we're in this transitional period. And the transitional period is that the market here in Atlanta has in fact hit a turning point. And we're kind of bobbing up and down again, just like we were just before the run-up. I'm going to explain what that means to values coming up next. Don't go away.